My name is Nora Callen, and at 68 I believed life had finally slowed enough for me to breathe. I lived alone in a small wooden house tucked into Pine Hollow, Oregon, where mornings smelled like pine needles and rain-soaked earth. On that particular morning, sunlight crept across the floorboards as I sat by the window, a deep forest green scarf folded neatly in my lap. I had knitted it myself, every stitch patient, deliberate, and full of memories. That scarf wasn't just wool. It carried years of quiet sacrifices, of packed lunches, late nights, and a boy who once ran barefoot through the grass, promising he'd change the world. The phone rang. "Mom," my son Daniel said, his voice polished and hurried, the way it had sounded ever since he moved to San Francisco. "I have big news. I'm receiving a leadership award next month. Corporate gala. You have to be there." My heart lifted in a way it hadn't in years. "I'd love to," I replied, already imagining him on stage, confident and shining. "I'll send you a hotel link," he added quickly. "Just book through it. Use your card. It's easier for the organizers." The call ended before I could say much more, but I didn't mind. The invitation itself felt like a bridge, one I thought had been quietly burned over time. That afternoon, I opened my laptop and clicked the link. The hotel was extravagant. Glass towers, marble floors, the kind of place built for people who belonged to another world. I booked a suite anyway. Not because I needed luxury, but because I wanted to walk into that lobby as Daniel's mother, proud and unashamed. Over the next few days, I prepared carefully. I pressed my navy dress, polished my shoes, and wrapped the scarf in white tissue paper tied with silver ribbon. I imagined draping it over Daniel's shoulders, whispering that I was proud of him. On the morning of my flight, Oregon was wrapped in mist. As the plane lifted above the forests, my heart felt full of hope, of reconciliation, of belief that everything I'd poured into motherhood had meant something. I had no idea that this journey wouldn't be a celebration. It would be a reckoning. I believed I was flying toward pride and reunion, but what awaited me in that hotel lobby would change the meaning of motherhood forever. The taxi stopped in front of the towering glass hotel just as the sun dipped behind the skyline. The building shimmered, cold, polished, untouchable. I stepped inside, clutching my purse and the small gift box, telling myself not to feel out of place. "I have a reservation," I said gently at the front desk. "Nora Callen." The receptionist typed, paused, then frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Your reservation was canceled earlier today." The words didn't register at first. "Canceled?" I repeated. "I paid for it, through my son's company link." "Yes," she said carefully. "It appears the change was requested by your son's office." My phone buzzed before I could respond. A message, not from Daniel, but from his fiancée. "The suite is needed for important guests. You can wait in the lobby." I sat down before my knees gave out. The lobby buzzed with laughter, rolling suitcases, clinking glasses. I sat still, clutching the gift box like proof I existed. Minutes stretched into an hour, then longer. A security guard approached. "Ma'am, are you a registered guest?" "I was," I whispered. "I'm waiting for family." He nodded stiffly and walked away. The humiliation burned deeper than anger ever could. I stared at the chandelier overhead, its light sharp and unforgiving. Somewhere above me, my son was likely checking into comfort, unaware or uncaring that his mother had been reduced to a shadow in the corner. When I finally stood and returned to the desk, a young clerk confirmed what I already knew. The cancellation was authorized by Mr. Daniel Callen himself. Something inside me went quiet. "How much for the presidential suite?" I asked. He hesitated. "It's extremely expensive." "Then charge it," I said, sliding my card forward. "Tonight, let it belong to a woman who raised the man you celebrate." As the elevator climbed, grief hardened into clarity. They had mistaken my patience for weakness. That night, high above the city, I made a decision, one that would follow my son straight into the brightest moment of his life. The suite was breathtaking. Glass walls, marble floors, a city glowing beneath my feet. I should have felt small. Instead, I felt awake. I placed the scarf on the table and stared at it for a long time. I wove all my love into you, I whispered, but love should never beg. That night, I didn't sleep. I called my lawyer the next morning. I want to rewrite my will, I said calmly. Everything. When I returned home weeks later, life felt different, quieter, lighter. Then the email arrived, an invitation to Daniel's wedding. Polite, empty, strategic. I replied with a smile. Yes, I'll be there. Then I made one final call. They thought the wedding would restore their image. They never imagined it would expose their truth. The hall gleamed with gold and crystal. When it was my turn to speak, I stepped onto the stage, calm and steady. I'd like to share something about family, I said softly. The screen changed. Just sleep in the lobby. Gasps echoed through the room. That message, I continued, was sent to me by the woman who now calls me mother. Silence. Success without decency is failure, I said, meeting my son's eyes. Then I walked away. But my story didn't end in applause. It ended in freedom. I sold my house, gave my savings to charities, moved by the sea. Now I work in a small bookstore where kindness is quiet and real. The scarf still warms my shoulders. Some endings aren't losses. They're beginnings. If this story moved you, remember, you're never too old to reclaim your dignity and start again.